LGBTQIA+. This is a vast topic which is least discussed by anyone in general. Let's see if we can break the stereotypes in people's mind by the end of this video, because this video is not only about the LGBTQ community but also about the life story of an LGBTQ activist who is also a journalist, stylist, writer, and many more. Let's listen to the barriers he had to face to become what he is today as a gay. Let's build the confidence to overcome certain insecurities, as we have with us Laishram Romal Singh, being the voice of the voiceless here. Namaste, sir.
Namaste.
Firstly, tell us about yourself, your early life.
Early life. Yeah. Okay. Before that, I think I should introduce myself. I'm Romal Laishram. I'm a journalist. I'm 38 years old, and I'm currently the assistant editor of Indulge, which is a part of the New Indian Express in Bangalore. My early life, well, like everybody else, I was in school. I went through school. I did most of my schooling in Kotagiri, which is in the Nilgiris, right next to Ooty, 25 kilometers away from that. And most of my other education I did in Bangalore. Most of my professional life has been in Bangalore, but I've also worked in Bombay and Chennai.
So at what age did you feel like you're not straight?
I don't think it's not like, you wake up one day and you're like, oh my God, I'm not straight. It's a process, and it's something that happens over time. I think the first time I had an inclination that I might be queer or gay, and people use these two terms alternatively. I choose to think they're the same thing, but a lot of other people have different opinions. Some people think queer is a more encompassing term, whereas people think gay is more specific to men who are attracted to men. I use the term alternatively.
Okay.
But I think I kind of had an inclination way back when I was around 13 or 14 when, and it's a funny story because I was cast as the prince in Sleeping Beauty.
Okay.
And the girl who was playing the princess, of course, wanted to pull a prank on me. And on the final day when we were having our, the last show in front of the whole audience. So because we were in school, you're not allowed to kiss or anything like that, right? So you fake it. You just go down and you don't do anything because everyone would judge you. But on the final day on stage, she kissed me.
Okay.
And it freaked the hell out of me and I started crying. Like I didn't cry on stage, but I was very irritated by the fact that someone stole my first kiss from me. And I don't know why I was so irritated by the whole thing. But then I realized later that maybe in my head, the way I had perceived my first kiss was always with a guy and not really with a girl. And maybe I didn't have the vocabulary and the language to figure it out at that point of time. But I felt wronged and I felt like my consent hadn't been taken. Of course, we didn't have the language of consent, way back in the 1990s. Who spoke about consent? I'm so happy in 2024 we talk about it so openly. But I think that was my first inclination. And then over the years, I started realizing I really wasn't attracted to women per se, and I was more attracted to men. So it was a process. I think I accepted myself by the time I was around 15. I came out when I was 16. And yeah, that's how the story has been.
So did your family support you?
Like most Indian families, initially there was a lot of problems around it. And, it wasn't really a thing of not supporting. I think it came from a place of not understanding. Like my mom, by the time I came out, my mom was alive. So my dad had passed away by then. A lot of the problems that came up were not really about I don't accept you or I'm not going to allow you to live this lifestyle, but rather why would you want to live this lifestyle that is so tough, that is so that people will judge you, that a lot of religions say is wrong. I come from an Orthodox Christian family, so a lot of the questions were about religion. Our religion does not allow this. So I had to educate myself first and make myself sure about the fact that this is who I am before I could tell the world, right? And so I think that process started it off. And then, of course, some people who I came out to didn't really appreciate it and said, oh my God, you're the cause of all problems in the world. Being gay is the worst thing possible. There were people who accredited, they used to say it's a worse sin than murder. There were people who told me because of me, hurricanes happen, because of me, global warming is happening, because of me, people are dying, whatever. So everything was thrown at me. And then, of course, there was the other side, which used to be like, oh, so you're saying you're a pedophile. And you're 16. How can you be a pedophile at 16? It just makes no sense, right? But that's the kind of ideas people had about the community at that point of time. So I had to give myself ammunition. I had to give myself enough of tools to fight. to be able to take on the world. And so I prepared myself, be it on the religious front, be it on the social front. I had to educate myself enough to be able to take these people on when they, threw things at me. So by the time I was 16, 17, 18, I was pretty confident and I was able to fight people on all of these things. And then so my life became pretty easy. So I often tell people who are queer and who are facing these problems, first who you are. Be confident about who you are. Have confidence in yourself. Then anyone can throw anything at you. As long as you're confident, it won't affect you. So
So you're an LGBTQ activist.
I became an activist out of sheer, I'll tell you the story, it's very nice. So I was already a journalist by 2008 and I had been asked to cover the first Pride March in Bangalore by the paper that I was working for, which was called Midday at that point. Yeah, it was a paper in Bangalore. And I remember while we were walking with the people marching and we were shooting it, my photographer friend who was with me shooting the march with me, at one point he just looked at me and he said, Romal, I don't think you should be here. I think you should be there. And it hit me really badly.
Okay.
Because I was like, that's true. What am I doing here? Just because I'm media and I have privilege and nobody is, attacking me, I can't be ignoring the community that is really being attacked all the time. And so the very next day, I went to that community that had got together to organize the Pride. And I remember walking in and just saying, what do you need me for? And that was the beginning of my activism. I continued to be a very active activist till around 2016. I think you're an activist all through your life. You can't really stop being one. But I took kind of a break in 2016 and I've been trying to put my energies into doing other things. Like, for example, I have a small little organization called QAMI, which is Queer Arts Movement India. And the idea is to spread the language of inclusion through art, performing art. So I'm trying to focus my energies elsewhere rather than just being an activist. I think India has a lot of activists and we've won most of the battles right now. We are now a legal entity within the Indian legal framework. We still have to fight for marriage equality, but that's a long fight. It'll happen.
Okay, so why is this rally basically done? What is their motive?
So the idea of Pride in India is actually quite different because a lot of people do Pride as a celebration. In India, Pride is still a protest. Because even though we have all the rights in our favor, we have all the laws in our favor right now, very few of those laws are actually being materialized in reality. Like a lot of us, for example, there was a transgender bill that was passed a few years ago, which said trans people should have access to 1% of all reserved jobs and things like that. But till you actually go and fight for it, until the government is aware that they have to do this, it's not going to happen. A law can pass in Delhi. But it does not necessarily filter into all the states or into all the government machineries. And so we're still doing that fight. So we won one battle, but the bigger battle, which is a battle with society, is still to be won. A lot of people in India still feel very uncomfortable to be open about their sexuality in daily life. But within safe spaces like corporate structures, for example, a lot of them feel free because the corporate structure ensures that you cannot be bullied, you cannot be treated differently. And so it's a safe space. So there are pockets of India which are safe today, but not necessarily the whole country. But I'm hoping 10 years from now, people can just be who they want to be.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
So why do you think India is not accepting?
The sad part is a lot of the ideas against homosexuality or the queer spectrum are things that we borrowed from the West. We think we borrowed queer identity from the West, but actually what we borrowed is homophobia and queerphobia. That's what we borrowed. Because naturally as Indians, we are not very judgmental of all of these things. Just look at Khajuraho, look at our books, look at Kama Sutra, look at so many of these books where they talk about sexuality so openly. They talk about transgender people so openly. So then where did this hatred come from? I feel like the hatred came from the Christian world. But today we've twisted the story and we're like, oh, this homosexuality and all we borrowed from the West. No, we didn't borrow that from the West. We borrowed the hatred from the West. And today in India, if you're an educated upper class or middle class person, we are following the Victorian idea of morality, which is about how sex should be, who sex should be between, what is considered vulgar, what is not considered vulgar, what is considered proper, what is not considered proper. Sadly, we are assuming this is our culture, but a lot of it has been influenced by British culture, Islamic culture, Christian culture over the years. So our native Indian culture, which is extremely accepting and says do what you want as long as you're not harming anyone, is gone. And today we are holding on to these other imported moralities and saying this is our morality. And that's the reality of India. And I don't blame anyone because From the time you're a child, if you're brought up to believe that this is right and this is wrong, it's very tough for you to shift that idea, right? So the hope is that through education, through a lot of interaction with people who are not part of the queer spectrum, that we're able to tell them that, hey, you're fighting against something that is innately you. You come from a culture that is accepting, tolerant, and is actually a very beautiful culture. And what you're claiming is the culture is actually something that you borrowed from somewhere else. And if we're able to twist that conversation around, I think we'll be able to fight it, but it'll take time. That's the problem today in India.
So, what is your point of view on NALSA judgment?
Very amazing judgment. I just hope it gets filtered into the whole system, as I answered earlier. Many of these judgments are amazing. They're great to read. And when you read them, they're so beautiful and inclusive, you want to cry because they're so good and so legally sound. But are they being, are they filtering down into the systems across the country? No. And so I'd like to see them filtered down more, and I'd like to see people actually using these laws for their benefit. Yeah.
Okay, so the people who are from LGBTQ community, they are not openly saying it, maybe because of the fear of society or anything. What is your role as an activist here?
I mean, their identity.
Yeah.
I think that's a personal thing. No, see, it's not easy. A lot of people put this effort on the queer community and say, why don't you come out? Why don't you come out into what kind of a world? A world where you're constantly judged. For every Romal who's maybe 1 in 1,000, there are going to be another 900 people who are not that courageous, who don't have that kind of confidence. And like every human is different from each other, you can't expect everyone to be so confident and be okay. Like today, if I'm walking on the road and someone calls me chakka or someone calls me hijada or calls me koti or panti, if they want, it doesn't affect me. I'm like, that's your problem, bro, not my problem. I know who I am, right? How many people are okay with that? If you're walking in the road, if someone randomly calls you something, would you react or would you not react? The first thing is to react. But when you say, why aren't you coming out? You have to harden yourself to a point where you're able to deal with this on the daily basis. You're able to deal with people who will blame you for everything. You're able to deal with people. I'll give you an example. Like, for example, when I came out, someone who was very understanding once told me, oh, why is it so tough for you to find a guy? For you, any guy will do, right? So the idea is that they don't look at you as a human being in that sense. They don't look at you like a normal person who also has taste. Imagine if I told that to a girl saying, hey, why are you not yet married? Any guy would do, right? One slap I'll get, right?
True.
Because that's what straight society understands, that there is choice, there is interest, there's attraction. Somehow when you're queer, they don't give you all of those things. They don't understand that you also have a choice that not anyone would do, that you're looking for a certain kind of person, that simply their gender and sexuality is not enough. Their personality also matters, their characteristics matters, what they want in life, their motivation, their focus, their goals. All of these things are also important for you as a partner. So it's basically the same thing. Exactly what straight people are looking for, queer people are also looking for. But somehow, because we are a minority, people like to look at us in the worst possible light. And it's very tough to live life then, right? So when you expect people to come out, it's not an easy thing. It requires a certain kind of a character. It requires a huge amount of a community that gives you support and tells you, hey, if you come out, we're there to support you, and we will, if someone bullies you, we're there to push them back, but how many people in this country have that kind of access, have that kind of, a security around them? So it is tough. So to expect everyone to come out is very tough. And why would anyone want to be hated for no reason?
Agreed. LGBTQIA+, can you elaborate?
Oh, it's the acronym keeps increasing, but I love that. I love that we're a community that has space for everyone and everyone. Anyone and everyone rather. So L is lesbian, G is gay, B is bisexual, T is trans or transitioning, LGBTQ is queer, I is intersex, A is asexual or ally. The plus can mean the plus was added initially to represent HIV positive people, but then as time went, we meant plus that anyone can be added. Plus, how many ever you want to put PQRSTU, whatever you want to. So we're a very welcoming community. The community became that welcoming because we're a bunch of minorities who know what it feels like to be a minority, to be someone who's pushed to the margins of society. So we're always here, always there in support, and always there to give support to anyone who's also marginalized like us, which is why the acronym keeps increasing.
So how many genders are there?
I think that's a very, very problematic question, because there are Western world which thinks there are 40,000 genders. There are
40,000.
Yeah, exaggerating clearly, but yeah, you can have a whole number of genders. There is no set number on genders because gender is an identity. It is a self-perceived identity. So you can't put a lock on it and say it's this, and this. Largely, what I like to say is gender is divided into two types of identities, which are cisgender and transgender. Cisgender means you kind of agree with the gender that society assigned to you when you were born. Trans means you didn't agree with it. So simply I can classify it into just two, which is cis and trans. So for example, when you were born, if the world told you were a male and you accept you're a male, you're a cisgender person. If the world told you you're a female and you accept the fact that you're a female, you're a cisgender female, or whatever else. Transgender is someone who wants to transition from that and doesn't necessarily accept it. But in terms of gender identity and the amount of identities there are, the number is, I think every human being can have a different gender identity, literally. So then if we are 8 billion people, there are 8 billion genders. Yeah.
So transgenders are the ones who surgically change their body parts?
Not necessarily always. So the definition for a long time involved actual SRS, sexual reassignment surgery, or gender reassignment surgery as it is called today, but not necessarily anymore. I think today it's largely about identity. The world is growing. So you can identify as a woman and still have a male body and behave like what a female is expected to behave in society, and people will treat you like a woman. So it's as simple as that. You don't have to necessarily undergo surgery. The surgical element comes in through legality. But that also we are fighting and trying to make the term a little bit more broader and inclusive and not completely define it based on surgery and things like that, because it's very limiting to do that.
So that means they have both the energies.
They have all energies. Forget male. Again, we're dividing it into binary. Right? So I don't think we should do that. I think, as I said, let's keep it simple. Cisgender means someone who is accepting the assigned gender. Transgender, someone who's not accepting the assigned gender. Simple.
So how does this community get built? Is it only because of the minority?
Built isn't people come into it. Yeah. So the moment you understand you're part of the community, you reach out to people who are like you, and then the community builds. So anyone is part of the community. It's not like you have a membership. You don't have to go and get a membership or anything. The moment you identify that you are different from heterosexuals, then you search for people like you, and then you find the community in your city or town, and then you become part of the community.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not a formal thing. Yeah.
So what is your perspective on masculinity and femininity?
See, there are benefits to both of these gender roles or gender identities. It's not necessary that masculine gender identity has to only happen to men and feminine gender identity has to only happen to females. It can happen to anyone. All of us have a bit of the masculine and the feminine within us. And that's why I'm saying go back to Indian culture. We have gods who have both the energies. I mean, we have Ardhanarishwara, which itself tells you to your face that all of us have everything within us, right? Like you don't have to be masculine or feminine. You can be masculine in this situation, feminine in that situation. You can be a combination of both. You can be none. You can also be agendered, where you don't have any gender identity whatsoever. And that also happened in India. A lot of people who became sannyasins and all of that went above gender. They were not male or female. They were nothing. And so India as a culture, we already have these ideas. It's just that the West came and pushed their ideas on us, and now we're using English terminologies for it, but we always had it. Yeah.
Okay, so do you think people are combining both sexual identity and sexual orientation?
I think they all overlap each other. It's like a puff, like you've eaten an egg puff. It's got layers, right? So the layers go on top of each other. They kind of connect with each other, but they don't necessarily have to be, like for example, if you are a man who is attracted to a man, that does not mean this is also going to be you, this is also going to be, like everything doesn't relate to each other. They're related, but they don't lead to one another. So for example, if your sexual orientation is of a certain, I'll give you an example. There might be a lot of people who are straight, okay, who will be attracted to one person of the same gender, not because of sexuality, but because of love or affection or friendship. Like if you talk to them and you say, okay, say your best friend, something happens, would you kiss your best friend? They'll be like, yeah, I mean, I like that person enough, and I don't think of it as gay because this is my best friend. So I don't mind being like that. So many people who are straight also will have someone in the opposite gender that they might have those kind of romantic feelings for. If you have romantic feelings, sexual feelings can always develop. So it doesn't have to be as clear cut as we define it. Like everyone is not 100% gay. Everyone is not 100% bi. Everyone is not 100% straight, which is why I always say sexuality comes on this wonderful scale called Kinsey scale. If you ever plot your sexuality, do the test, you'll find that there are no 100% of anything. Like even for me, when I do the Kinsey scale, I am more gay, less bisexual. But because I know I'm more attracted to men and I'm less attracted to women, I won't make the mistake of ending up with a woman, because I know even if I'm with a woman, tomorrow I'm going to want a man. So why would I spoil her life? So it's just about being understanding of where you are on the spectrum and living your life in a smart way. See, at the end of the day, what is sex? What is intimacy? It's all about connecting to another person. All of this boils down to one simple thing. Are you a good human being? Do you want to be a good human being with someone else? If you really value this person, even if it's just a hookup, if you value this person as a human, do you want to hurt them? Do you want to make them happy? As simple as that. If all of these things are clear in your head, you won't make the mistakes, right? You'll be like, okay, maybe I'm attracted to this person for a short time, but do I see something sensible with this person beyond that? Will I hurt this person if I get involved with this person or not? When you put all of these perspectives, you'll always make the right choice. So I think it's a much larger conversation. I think we limit it too much into boxes, and we're like, gay means only gays. And something that people don't often realize is sexuality is fluid. It changes over time. There are a lot of people who were straight till they were around 45 and then they discovered they were queer. There are people who are queer and then they discovered they were straight. So sexuality can change according to the society around you, the environment around you. But the problem is, the moment we say it can change, then people want to forcibly change it. So if someone says I'm attracted to guys, they'll be like, no, you can't be attracted to women, because it can. So they feel like you have control. So when I say it's fluid, I have to also explain that you still don't have any control. It changes on its own. It's not like you can put them through therapy or give them electric shocks or do anything like that and change them willfully. It will never happen.
So do you think mentioning their sex or gender in an official form is right?
I think the problem in India is we get confused between sex and gender. Sex largely is a biological thing, which is male, female, and now intersex. So you got male, female, intersex. Gender, as I said, is either cisgender or transgender, but people put gender on a form. Gender is irrelevant. It makes no sense to anyone. Putting male, female, intersex and that option on a form makes sense because you want to count the number of males or females working in your company or whatever. Still, I think it's irrelevant, but I understand in terms of accounting or keeping track or tallying, it makes sense. So, but I think gender is a very stupid thing to have on a form, because again, it changes. You know.
In this gay couples, is there a man playing a role of a girlfriend, or is it just boyfriend?
Oh, so again, the problem is everyone wants to look at everything from the heterosexual perspective. So yeah, there might be gay couples where one is submissive, one is dominant, one is feminine, one is masculine. But there can also be gay couples where they're both super masculine, where one doesn't want to be the wife, where one wants to be the husband, both want to be the husband, both don't perceive themselves as a husband or wife. Some may not even want marriage. So there are different ways of people pairing up. It has nothing to do with gay or... See, if you are a submissive person as you are, whether you're a man or a woman or whatever, you're going to be submissive in every role in life. You're not going to be someone who's a big bullying person. But if you're a bullying person, irrespective of whether it is sex or not sex, you're going to be a bullying person. You'll be a debater. You'll be someone who is the captain of the football team. Because that's your personality is like that. It's a dominant personality. It has nothing to do with the roles you play in bed. Though, because everyone perceives everything from the heterosexual perspective and, kind of mimics this husband-wife duality into all other relationships, nowadays people use terms like top, bottom, all of those kind of things. But I think they're very stupid, they're outdated, and they're not required. Because also then you limit yourself. Like, at the end of the day, my first question to everyone is, in a relationship, why do you have sex? Is it a duty, or you're doing it for fun? Or you're doing it to show love? If you're doing it to show love to your partner, then should you have these roles in place? You shouldn't, right? It should be about pleasuring. It should be about sharing an intimate moment. It should not be about, I'll be in charge, you will be in charge, you have to play this role, I'll have to play that role. These are very limiting things. And sadly, they've made the community into that. So a lot of people talk this language. Are you a top? Are you a bottom? Are you side? Are you this? Are you that? It's okay to identify yourself, do it, but don't get restricted by these things. At the end of the day, I think all humans are capable of playing all roles. Everyone has a dominant side to them, a submissive side to them. Everything need not be about sex. So I think it's a very random thing, but it's become part of our culture.
Okay, so what is it with the pronunciation? He, him, she, her, they, them?
So pronouns is, I think, a generational thing. I am absolutely okay with anyone choosing whatever pronoun they want to have, but they have to understand the limitation of language. Like, say, for example, when you're talking Tamil, Kannada, Hindi, we anyway use the respectful form without gender. Like in whether South Indian languages or Hindi, when you're talking with respect, you say aap. Aap has no gender. Even when you're talking in Kannada, Neevu has no gender, right? Whenever you're putting respect, anyway, there's no gender in our languages. The problem comes in English. In English, you have to put gender whether you're respecting or not, right? It has to be he, she, whatever. If you have a problem with the way people are using your pronouns, please tell them that you want to change. You want them to change the pronouns, but give them time. See, like for example, now I perceive you as a woman. I don't know what you identify as, but I perceive you as a woman. I'm immediately going to use she because that's what the world has taught me. That's what language has taught me. But if you tell me, Romal, I don't want she, I want he, him, then you'll have to give me at least, like say, 2-3 minutes to change to that, to be able to consciously say no. He, him in this case, right? But the problem with a lot of young people who are very strong about pronouns, they don't give that space to people. They get offended the moment you use the wrong pronouns. So I'm like, it's like a meet halfway. People will come this much, you also come this much. And then eventually we will reach that point. But there are a lot of people in the community who don't care about pronouns. Like, to me, honestly, whether you use she, he, it, z, whatever you want, I don't care. I know about my pronoun. I know I'm he, him, right? What you say is your problem. I'll correct you once. If you still make the same mistake, I'll just ignore and walk away. So it shouldn't be that big an issue. But if it is important to you, then please specify it. Tell people. If they don't change on repeated things, then you have the right to get angry. But don't lose your temper immediately.
Children's or youths these days are getting more knowledge. Is that the reason why LGBTQ community is increasing?
In some ways, yes. In some ways, no. Because see, when we were growing up, we didn't have access to any of this information. I was a highly educated person who had access to English media, who was reading up a lot of things. So I knew there was an option for me to, like when I was attracted to men, for a long time, I didn't know the word was gay. But then I found out that, oh, I'm attracted to men, therefore I'm gay, because I had access to that information. Today, that information is there with everyone. So it's just that whoever is attracted knows that they are. So obviously the numbers will go up because, see, in my time, out of maybe 9,000 people, I was the only one who came out because the others didn't even know. I'm just giving you a random number. But today, those 9,000 people have access. So one Romal in 2000 or 1999 versus 9,000 Romals in this age. Obviously, the numbers will increase. So it has nothing to do that more information will increase the number. More people are accessing the information, so they're able to identify properly.
Do people speak about this openly with you?
They should. And I think everyone should. We should all speak openly about sexuality. I think the moment people reach the age of 14 and 15, which is the most confusing part of our life, everything attracts us. We don't know what we're attracted to. That's when this conversation should start. See, my thing is, I'm not here on an agenda to make everyone gay. I don't necessarily want that. But I'm saying, before you hit the age of, say, 22, before you get married, at least figure out if that is something that is an option to you. Because it should not happen that at 45, after you have children and you're married, you suddenly realize you're gay and then you screw up a whole family, right? You have children who are based on you have a wife, or if you're a woman, you have a husband, whatever. And then for you to say, I want to break the shackles of society and do everything, you're affecting so many. It's a domino effect. You're affecting everyone around you. Instead of that, if you figure yourself out at 21 and at 22, you're like, okay, this is not for me. Straight life is not for me. I'm a queer person. At least you will save you.
Why does the LGBTQ community have a rainbow flag?
So, anyone can Google it. It's a very open. It's not a secret. But I think why I think we have a rainbow flag is because the rainbow represents everything. It represents colors. It represents hopes. In all cultures, rainbows have meant beautiful things. Be it Hinduism, Buddhism, Christianity. I'm not sure about Islam, but rainbows have always been symbols of hope, and they're beautiful and they're colorful and they represent diversity, and they show that all human beings have so many sides to them. So, which is why we use the rainbow flag. But if you want the political reason, just Google it. Yeah.
People are not used seeing the LGBTQ community people in power. Is that why they are lacking out of support in India?
Could be. We have not politically organized ourselves well enough. Though now we do have queer representatives in a lot of parties. I saw NCP in Bombay has a representative. AAP had a representative. Congress, I think, is going to come out with a queer representative and things like that. A lot of transgender people are battling elections across the country. From Karnataka itself, 2-3 people I know. From Bangalore, transgender activists. So it's just a matter of time. And it's very right. The moment you are not politically visible, people will not take you seriously. So the more politically visible we are, the better it is for the community. So that will happen in the next few years.
So what do you think is happening in India right now about LGBTQ community?
I think right now we're in a good space. From when I started my journey with the community, when I came out into the community in 2007 or 8, I think we've come a long way. Most of our legal battles have been fought. We've won most of them. Still a lot of work to do for transgender rights. Still a lot of work to do for marriage rights. That's a fight within the community itself. Some people want marriage, some people don't want marriage. But it's a great journey ahead. I think we've covered the biggest milestone, which is legally being recognized. And so yeah, I'm quite positive, and I feel like in the next 10-15 years, everything will be sorted out in India. So, at least for the community.
What do you think how the Bollywood or film industry is portraying LGBT?
It's becoming much better. Actually, today there was a movie that released called Amar Prem Ki Prem Kahani or something like that just released. Again, directors are taking a lot more effort to portray the community really well. In the South, we still have a lot of problems. 1 or 2 films are doing a good job. Most films are still using us as comedy elements, ridiculing elements, or otherwise purposely portraying us as negative characters. We're murderers, rapists, this, that, all of that kind of stuff. I think that needs to change, because you can do any survey and find out that you'll find very few people from the queer community among criminals. Like most of them don't really care about these things. Most people just want to fall in love, have a great relationship, and be left alone. That's all they want in life, right? Nobody is out here to, like, a lot of people will tell me, they're like, yeah, if we allow you to come out on the road and be, everyone will become gay. And I'm like, that's nonsense. Like, are you saying that the average straight person, the moment they see me as a gay person, will be like, oh, now I want to be gay? Like, no, if you're straight, you're straight. If you're gay, you're gay. But yes, if I'm on the road and if someone is questioning themselves and then they see a gay man walking proudly and being open about his sexuality, they might be motivated to come out. But it's only going to affect that gay person. It's not going to affect the straight person. So this nonsense about, oh, you will change everyone, you will attract a lot of the youngsters towards you. Some parents now say, yeah, a lot of people are experimenting with their sexuality to be rebellious. I'm like, why do you think people will want to take on this identity where everyone is spitting at them and saying horrible things to them? Why would they want to take this on? Like, do you think they're mad that they would leave straight identity, which is so accepted and celebrated, and take on gay identity, which everyone looks down on? Nobody's enjoying this. It's not an interesting thing. It's not a cool thing. It's becoming a cool thing within certain young groups within urban centers, because there's a lot of conversation around it, but it's never going to affect everyone. So this thing, it's a myth, this whole thing that we have an agenda to change everyone. We don't. So we're in a great place. And
what about the people who are pretending to be this, like, especially the transgender?
See, that again, so the trans community is the one who's safeguarding and saying, no, there are pretend transgenders. Who is to say who is pretending? What if that pretender also is just confused? Like, why are we saying they're pretending? Their definitions of pretending are very funny. Like, he's wearing sari, but he doesn't behave like a woman. Stuff like that. It's very vague. So who are we to judge what is pretending, what is not pretending? How do you know whether that person is pretending or not pretending? Say tomorrow I come to you and you're married to your husband and I'll say, oh, you're pretending to be a wife. Like, it's ridiculous, right? Who is someone else to come and tell anyone that they're pretending? We don't know. We genuinely don't know. So I think it's very ridiculous. People should be allowed to do whatever they do. If they are cheating someone, if they're treating someone badly, if they're affecting someone negatively, yes, please go and control or tell them to stop doing whatever they're doing. But if they're just living their life, let them be. Like, who's negatively being affected by this?
So what is love to you?
Love is such a loaded question. Yeah, I think love is being fully aware of the fact that you want to put someone else's joy, happiness, everything before you, and you get joy out of that. And I'm not saying it's a selfless thing. Of course, when you love someone, you also want it to be reciprocated. But love is that element of humanity that teaches you that there's someone who you can value more than you value yourself.
How do you deal with bad days or bad situations?
Like every other human being, you wake up, you're just like, okay, terrible day, but let's just drink one cup of coffee and deal with it. That's it.
Would you like to share any bad experience you had?
No, why? I mean, I think the more you talk about, I've had lots, but I'm saying why. I think the more you talk about bad things, people start pitying you. And I think as a gay person today, I don't want to be pitied. Yeah, I don't want anyone who's listening to this, I don't want to be pitied. I want you to treat me like every other human being and understand that whatever happened to me could have happened to you. If it happened to you, you would also talk about it like the way I'm talking about it. But I'm not special, I'm not different, I'm not cool. My pain is not worse than yours, it's the same pain as yours. My love is equal to your love, your joy is equal to my joy. No point in going back and talking about sad things. Yes, it'll make you feel sad and you might drop a tear or two. But instead of that, just accept queer people as human beings and understand that we're equal to you. That's it. Yeah.
So India has always been a progressive country, but why is it not progressive when it comes to
Because I told you, no, because we are still sitting and trying to ape the West. The British came here, they left, but they left all their morality here and we are holding it onto it like as if it is our morality. So the day we learn that, I was on a discussion the other day on a television channel where we were talking about all this, and I'm a Christian. And the person I was pitted against was a Hindu saint. I mean, Hindu whatever, the leader of a religious sect. He kept saying things that actually come from Christianity. And I kept saying things that actually came from Hinduism. And then finally at one point I stopped and I said, sir, do you realize you are spouting stuff that comes from Christianity? I should be saying that, but I am spouting stuff that comes from Hinduism. Please learn your own religion. Because, as I said, Indian society is very accepting. Today we are not accepting because of this horrible Western legacy that has been left with us. For some reason we are holding on to it and saying this is our culture when it is not our culture.
Perceptions in future days?
It'll change. I hope it changes. There are more people willing to talk about it, willing to accept, realizing that this is just basic humanity. It's nothing else. It's just accepting another human being. And I think I feel like we're going in the right direction.
Okay, so I'll let my Instagram followers ask few questions for you. So most of them are from an anonymous person.
Sure.
Have you ever in your life felt attracted towards an opposite gender of yours?
Yeah, when I was not sure about myself, and as I said, if you put yourself on a Kinsey scale, there is a bit of bisexuality in almost every human being. I am more towards gay, less towards bisexual. So I have been attracted to women, but as I said, I was conscious of the fact that even if I build a relationship with this girl, at the end of the day, I'm going to crave for a man. So I should do the correct thing and go with men. But not everyone is like me. There can be people who only have gay experiences, only straight experiences. But I think 99.9% of humanity is on the bisexual spectrum.
Okay, the next question is, how does someone know that they are lesbian or gay?
Simple. You're attracted to the same gender.
Same gender. Okay. When they undergo transformation, trans surgery and all, won't they face problem in future?
Of course, that's why they have to go through counseling. Even the government now forces people to go through counseling before giving you free GRS. The government takes up GRS now. A lot of them are sponsored by the government in many states across India. But you're sent through counseling to realize that you know what you're doing. It's not reversible. And so it is a tough situation. And they go through a lot,
Okay. So this is a statement actually which I got. Masculinity and femininity traits can only be good on their particular biological body.
Not necessarily true. Yeah.
Can gay people have kids?
Through IVF, through surrogacy, through so many ways. Of course, biologically, no, but yeah.
Don't you think their kids will face problems in the future?
Not at all. You see too many queer families that are bringing up children even better than straight families. So that's not a worry.
Is it all about sexual attraction, lust, or love?
For biological purposes, you have to define it according to that. But for sociological purposes, realize it's just the bottom of it. As I said, it's not only about sex. It's more about the love, the affection, the craving for another human being, all of those things. So, but sadly, when we fight these things, we have to use biology because it's a science, and there it has to be reduced to sexuality. So yeah.
Okay, this question is from a literature student. Why should we study about gender studies in our syllabus?
Just so that you become better human beings. You understand the other gender. If you're a man born in today's India and you're born into patriarchy, you know nothing about the female experience. And so when you're able to read about the female experience, you're able to understand your other human beings better. And women are half the planet. It's about time men started understanding them, and so do women have to understand men. Women always are understanding men. Men never bother to understand women. So gender studies is a great way for you to do that.
Okay, is it true that their hormonals change, or is it that they just want to dress up as a woman because they like to do it?
It can be both. It can be because of hormones. It can be because you identify like that different hormonal things. See, for example, now if you're someone who likes to dress in a certain way, and you start dressing, like say you're a boy who likes to dress in women's clothes. When you dress, obviously your hormones are going to reflect it. You're going to feel those happiness. You're going to feel all of that. So yes, it is hormonal. It is biological. But at the end of the day, that doesn't mean we have to argue only like that. So you can't be like only if there is hormonal change can they do this. The problem, as I said, is in defining we try to control. Let's not control. Let's just let people be what they want to be. If they're not affecting anyone negatively, let them be. Simple.
Before there were very less LGBTQ, now it's becoming more. Is it because of the trend which is happening?
No, I answer this again. Before there were lesser people who are openly LGBTQ because they didn't have access to information. Now they do, so the numbers are more. As simple as that. Like for example, were you all aware of the fact of your political inclination when you were 12 years old? No. Why? Because you were not reading about politics. When you became 18, you read about politics. You knew what political. Can I then say, oh, there are more people who are right-wing when they are 18 years old than when they are 12 years old? Obviously, bro. When they are 18, they know what is right-wing, left-wing. When they are 12, they don't. Simple. So it's not like the numbers increased. They were already there. They just identify as something now.
Some genders are fine, but what about the ones who want to identify themselves as a dog, cat, chair?
If they're that silly, let them know. I mean, they're not like a majority. And it's their own thing. As I said, if that's what gives them joy, let them do as they want. I mean, who are we to control? Or it's silly, I agree, but that's their life.
Do LGBTQ community people believe in God?
I do. So there can be people like me who are very religious, and there can be people who are completely atheist. Like every other community, it's a spectrum. You can have all kinds.
Okay, this is a kind of awkward question. It's a meme material question which many of them ask. Why are you gay?
Because I can't be anything else.
Straight answer. Yeah. Why do trans people attack on straight boys in train? And
Nobody attacks on anything. Trans people are forced to beg, right? Now, if you're a trans person, if you're a man who identifies as a woman, and what will you be attracted to? And if you're a good looking guy and you're in the middle of the train and they're coming there to beg, obviously the attraction is going towards you. Like how any young girl would be attracted to you, a trans woman is attracted to you. There's no difference here. Why are we making a difference? If they're not attracted to you, you're probably ugly. That's it. As simple as that. If you're good looking, anyone who identifies as the opposite gender will be attracted to you. As a gay man, I might be attracted to you. So I might also hit on you if I meet you in a train. So then it's just normal. Like attraction is a very normal thing. It may show externally, like for example, someone giving you a biscuit in a train might be because of attraction, but they're trying to show it to you in that way, like your own age. Someone might openly hit on you. Someone might flirt on you. It depends on how they are dealing with the attraction. No? It's not really about trans, not trans, blah, blah. Why are they begging? Because nobody is giving them jobs. If we could give them jobs, nobody will beg. Nobody is dying to beg on the middle of the road or sell themselves or be prostitutes or anything or sex workers. Nobody is willing to do all of these things. They're doing it because they have no other choice. Please understand that.
I don't have any problem with LGBTQ community, even if my child is, until and unless they start taking a rainbow flags on street and create drama there.
That's your problem. Then you're not, whoever this person is, you're not a very accepting person because that is their politics, that is their identity. Will you hate your child tomorrow if they have a political identity? Tomorrow if your child goes out on a BJP rally or a Congress rally or whatever party rally, you're going to throw them out of the house. That's an identity. This is an identity. How is carrying a flag there and walking on the road okay, but carrying an LGBT flag and walking on the road a problem? This is also just an identity. That's a political identity. This is a different type of political identity. Why is that okay and this not okay? Why are we so judgmental about these things? The problem is you are not really supportive of your child. You're scared that people will come and ask you about your child and you don't want to stand up for your child. So you're a bad parent. If you don't know how to support your child and stand up for them, what kind of a parent are you?
So lastly, would you like to say something to our audience?
Simple. Don't look at the community as different people. They're exactly like you. Their attractions might be different from you. But at the end of the day, we're all human beings. We're all sharing this planet together. We're all having the same human experience. It's one life, or if you believe in multiple lives, whatever it might be, let's try and make this life amazing. So just be nice to each other, be courteous to each other, be accepting of each other. If someone's doing something wrong, please go ahead and stop them. If they're affecting someone negatively, please go ahead and stop them. But if they're just living their life and being who they want to be, I mean, just accept them, and let's all try to make the world a better place.
Definitely. Thank you so much for spending time with us, sir. It was very informative and inspiring as well. I started feeling more empathetic towards humans. Like before
I
seeing
think it's that. It's at the end of the day, this is about humanity. It's
that's
not
it.
about everything.
Yeah. Before seeing them as whatever they are, firstly, they are a human being.
Exactly.
Hope you enjoyed this video. I'll be back with more such informative videos. Thank you for watching my video.